Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the meeting is called to order. This afternoon we will resume consideration of agenda items we were not able to conclude yesterday, namely 4I, 6D and agenda item 9, before proceeding to agenda item 11 on the adoption of the report. I would like to start with agenda item 9, dates, venue and theme topic for the 76th session of the Commission 2020. Under this agenda item, we are considering document ESCAP/75/32. I understand that after informal consultations yesterday evening and this morning, there was emerging consensus on the theme topic for the 76th session of the Commission in 2020. The proposal is regional economic, social and environmental cooperation on oceans for sustainable development. May I open the floor to delegations for their views. I see none. Do I take it then that we can recommend to the plenary that regional, economic, social and environmental cooperation on oceans for sustainable development be the theme topic for the 76th session of the Commission in 2020? Distinguished delegates of China, you have the floor.
Your Excellency, would you please put this title of the theme on the screen so as we have a clear understanding of what we are endorsing? Thank you.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I shall read the proposal again as the promoting economic, social and environmental cooperation on oceans for sustainable development. May I take it then that we can recommend to the plenary the theme, promoting economic, social and environmental cooperation on oceans for sustainable development, as a theme topic for the 76th session of the Commission in 2020. It is so decided. Let us now turn to agenda item 4I, Information and Communications Technology, Science, Technology and Innovation, and agenda item 6D, Report on the Evaluation of the Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer Technology. As you recall, yesterday we discussed these agenda items together, along with the documents under consideration, ESCAP/75/19, the report of the Governing Council of the Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology on its 14th session, ESCAP/75/29, the report on the evaluation of the Asian Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology, and ESCAP/75/INF/3, evaluation of the Asian Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology, the APCTT. Yesterday, there was no agreement on whether to endorse documents ESCAP/75/19, the report of the Governing Council of the Asian Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology on its 14th session. There also was no agreement on whether to endorse document ESCAP/75/29, the report on the evaluation of the Asian Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology, and take note of document ESCAP/75/INF/3, the evaluation of the Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology. We had agreed to allow more time for additional consultations. Therefore, may I open the floor to delegations for their views. As I see no delegations wishing to take the floor, do I take it that we can recommend that both ESCAP/75/19, the report of the Governing Council of the Asian Pacific Center for Transfer Technology on its 14th session, and ESCAP/75/29, the report on the evaluation of the Asian Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology, be endorsed by the plenary. And that the plenary, I recognize the distinguished delegate of India. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. The Indian government strongly feels that the report prepared by the Commission, numbered ESCAP/75/29, does not necessarily reflect the views of the member states, which, as per a survey done by the independent evaluator, a social survey carried out for the member states, the results of these two are starkly different. So it is not possible for the Indian delegation to be able to endorse this report. We would request the member states if they could consider taking note of document ESCAP/75/29. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of India. Are there any other views from the distinguished delegates? Distinguished delegate of China, you have the floor.
Thank you. 谢谢主席先生。主席先生，对于刚才您提到的两份文件，我们中国代表团前几天已经表明了关切，但是本着这个建设性合作的精神啊，我们不想阻挡这个文件的通过，但是我们也不希望这个报告的内容出现新的变化，所以我们主张还是按照目前的内容通过。谢谢。
Thank the distinguished delegate of China. Distinguished delegates, so therefore, distinguished delegate of India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor one more time. The Indian delegation has found severe inconsistencies in the report prepared by the Commission, which is numbered ESCAP/75/29 in terms of their recommendations, and we do not agree to some of these recommendations. Therefore, we are not in a position to endorse this report.
I thank the distinguished delegates of India, the distinguished delegates of the United States of America. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify the two different requests being put forward by both the Indian delegation and the Chinese delegation. And my understanding in hearing both of their explanations is that we are not, the Indian delegation is not requesting any changes to the report itself, but rather into the language whether we endorse or note the report. In that case, and having reviewed the report and understanding that there are some disagreements between the body who prepared the report and the member states involved with the initiative, I would also support the Indian delegation in not changing the report itself, but reflecting that this body notes the report rather than endorsing it. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of the United States of America, the distinguished delegate of India. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and sorry for taking the floor again. I'd like to thank our esteemed colleague from the United States for understanding our perspective on this. Secondly, the meeting of the Governing Council of the APCTT, which was held in November 2018, about 6 months ago, also took note of this report. So I feel that it is appropriate that this commission takes note of this report, rather endorses. Thank you.
Thank the distinguished delegate of India. May I kindly ask the distinguished delegate of India, were you referring to note ESCAP/75/29 and ESCAPs only? Distinguished delegate of India.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to clarify our position again. So we would be very happy to endorse ESCAP/75/19, but we would request to note ESCAP/75/29.
I thank the distinguished delegate of India. Distinguished delegates, may I therefore take that ESCAP/75/19 be endorsed and ESCAP for now? I see no objection. And we seek that ESCAP/75/29 be noted. Are there any other comments? And also ESCAP/75/INF/3 be noted. Distinguished delegate of China, you have the floor.
谢谢主席先生。主席先生，各位同事，中国作为 ESCAP 负责任的一员，以认真严肃的态度研究了 ESCAP 75-19和 ESCAP-75-29两份文件。我们注意到其中均提到 APCTT 面临的问题，以及需要大会采取的行动和需要引起关注的事项。我们认为，作为大会作为 ESCAP 最高决策机构，我们应该本着严肃的态度对此作出回应，以便进一步对有关问题促进对有关问题的解决。这也是前2天在讨论该议题时我要求发言的原因。考虑到大家已经对该问题已经引起了足够的重视和认识，所以我们这里没有阻挡上述2份文件的通过。我想在这里指出，中方作为 APCTT 理事会成员之一，重视该中心在促进科技转让方面发挥的重要作用。我们期待有关方面共同努力，尽快解决 APCTT 当前面临的问题，力争把该中心建成真正公开、透明、高标准、符合区域最佳实践、财务可持续的机构，为亚太科技发展合作做出更大贡献。谢谢主席先生。
I thank the distinguished delegate of China, and I give the floor to the distinguished delegate of India.
Thank you, Chair, and again, apologies for taking the floor again. Firstly, I'd like to thank our colleague from the Chinese delegation for his spirit of cooperation we would have been very happy if the Chinese delegation, while attending the Governing Council meeting last year in November, would have shared these concerns with us at that time, because the report was negotiated and agreed upon by all the member states of the Governing Council present. So it was not clear to us why this issue was raised now. We have the Governing Council meeting coming up later this year, and as per the Decision 5 of the Governing Council meeting held in November last year, it has been already decided by the member states to continue discussions bilaterally between the Secretariat and the Government of India. While saying this, I would also like to add that as per an independent survey carried out by the evaluator, it has already been confirmed that almost 80% of the member states of ESCAP feel that the human and the financial resources currently at APCTT's disposal are sufficient for its functioning. Despite that, the Government of India, in its spirit of cooperation and having supported APCTT for over 40 years, has doubled its contribution from $200,000 to $400,000 recently, and the announcement was made 2 days ago. We are very hopeful that this will turn things around, and we are hopeful that with this new, flush of funds, the APCTT would be able to serve its mandate better. For the record, the current expenses of the APCTT is under $300,000. We would also request the member states to also make voluntary contribution to the center, because it serves a very important mandate. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of India. Distinguished delegate of China, you have the floor.
谢谢主席先生。既然我们印度同事提到这个理事会报告，或者理事会到底是给我们报告了什么东西，我想我们这个大会的所有成员都应该仔细研究这个报告。事实上，在理事会的这个报告里面明确指出 ，Owing to severe financial and human resources limitation, the effective operation of the center could not be sustained。我认为这是一个非常严重的问题，这不是我们中方的理事没有报告这个问题，而是已经要写到这个理事会的报告里面了，而且他的采取这 number one of the 这个报告的第一部分就是要求 matters calling for action by the Commission or brought to attention. So these are the suggested elements from the Council report. 所以我想指出这一点。另外，既然提出这个问题来，我就想讨论一下关于 APCTT 的状况。我们从提交这个独立机构提交的这个评估报告，我们看出来，目前 APCTT 连一个就是 professional 的这个国际职员都没有，只有是 general staff， 经费仅30万美元或者是40万美元一年。据我们了解，这些钱仅够维持它的财政就是管理费用。所以我们觉得这个中心是面临了非常严重的问题的。理事会已经提出来这些问题，我们希望大家在会上的每一位能够了解这个事情的真实情况，这是对我们自己的附属机构负责。如果这个机构都不能按照联合国的标准，不能按照联合国的人事手册来招聘人员，这样一个基本的国际规则都不能遵守，我们真是应该考虑这个中心和联合国亚太经社会的关系。谢谢。
I thank the distinguished delegate of China. I give the floor to the distinguished delegate of India.
Thank you, Chair. To answer to the 3 points raised by our Chinese colleague here, the quotation that he mentioned is not from the Governing Council report itself, but the Governing Council taking note of the independent evaluator's report, which points out the severe financial and human resources limitations. So may I please place it on the record that the Governing Council has only taken note of this and not endorsed this. And this particular phrase is lifted out of the report of the independent evaluator. Secondly, about the no internationally recruited staff. So may I place it on on record that the P5 staff at the APCTT was withdrawn because of the shortage of fund. However, as per the host country agreement between the Secretariat and the Indian government, the internationally recruited staff is supposed to be funded from extra budgetary resources, and that in no way falls into the purview of the Government of India support. So we would again, as a member, as a responsible member and a host country of the APCTT, we would request other member states to make voluntary contributions to the center because it is actually serving a very important mandate. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of India. Are there any other requests for the floor? I see none, therefore may I reiterate that we endorse ESCAP/75/19, and we note ESCAP/75/29, and we note also ESCAP/75/INF/3. It is so decided. This concludes our consideration of the outstanding agenda items. We shall now move immediately to the plenary and to agenda item 11, adoption of the report of the Commission. Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the meeting is called to order. We meet this afternoon to take up the final item on our agenda, item 11, the adoption of the report of the Commission. Over the past few days, we have deliberated on a number of issues of significance for this region. I note with appreciation that with the cooperation of the delegations and the efficient servicing by the Secretariat, we shall be able to complete all our work on schedule. At this time, I would like to remind the members of the Commission that as stipulated in Resolution 73/1, the report we are about to adopt contains only the decisions and resolutions that we'll be considering now, along with the organization's matters for the session. A draft record of proceedings will be prepared by the Secretariat following our session and circulated to our capitals for comment, after which it will be finalized and published. If that is clear to all delegations, and if there are no comments, I wish to invite Her Excellency, Ambassador Raushan Yesbulatova, Chair of the Working Group on Draft Resolutions, to report to us on the work of the Working Group. Ambassador.
Good afternoon, and Mr. Chair, Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me at the outset to thank the Commission for entrusting in me and Mr. Hiroshi Kawamura, Minister and Deputy Chief of Mission and Permanent Representative of Japan to ESCAP, the responsibility of chairing and vice-chairing the working group on draft resolution. We indeed enjoy the honor of working with each of the distinguished delegates in the working group. I wish to extend to them our deepest thanks for their active participation in the deliberation and therefore flexibility and spirit of the cooperation demonstrated right from the beginning of our informal sessions. This year, the working group on draft resolution had a particularly challenging work, as its deliberation protected well beyond the scheduled time, but this is a testament of the important member states have placed on the issues under consideration of this year's Commission session. And while countries had different views at time, in the end of all the delegations show great flexibility and spirit of cooperation, which enabled the working group to reach the successful outcome. I also want to acknowledge the effort of the Secretariat through all our consultation over the last few weeks. I speak for the entire working group when I say that support provided by them is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. And Mr. Chair, and there 9 draft resolutions before the Commission for adoption. Each resolution deals with a range of important issues before the Commission and reflects the importance Member States have placed on the issues we have been deliberated on this session. The adoption of the resolution is expected to accelerate the implementation of the 2030 agenda in the region by strengthening partnership for sustainable development and regional cooperation in the areas of statistics, disaster risk reduction, air pollution, space application, information and communication technology, and science, technology and innovation. Moreover, the resolution will strengthen the links between national, region and global follow-up and review of the 2030 agenda, as well as address the priorities on landlocked developing countries in our region. Mr. Chair, it is now my honor to present to the Commission this year's slate of the draft resolution as recommended by the Working Group on Draft Resolution for consideration and adoption by the Commission. The first draft resolution is implementation of the outcome of the Euro-Asian Regional Midterm Review on the Vienna Programme of Action for Landlocked Developing Countries for the decade 2014-2024, as contained in document ESCAP/75/L4/Rev1, followed by committed the strengthens the link between national, regional and global follow-up and review of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in Asia and the Pacific, as contained in the document ESCAP/75/L5/Rev1. Third one is advancing partnership within an action region for the sustainable development of Asia and the Pacific, is contained in document ESCAP/75/L6/Rev1. Fourth one, it strengthens regional cooperation to tackle our pollution challenges in Asia and the Pacific. It's contained in document ESCAP/75/L7/Rev1. Fifth, implementation of the Ulaanbaatar Declaration of the 2018 Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction. It contains in document ESCAP/75/L8/Rev1. Implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Space Application for Sustainable Development in Asia and the Pacific, and the Asia-Pacific Plan of Action on Space Applications for Sustainable Development 2018-2030, is contained in document ESCAP/75/L9/Rev2. Seven, advancing the implementation of the Asia-Pacific Information Superhighway Initiative through regional cooperation, as contained in document ESCAP/75/L10/Rev1. 8, advancing science, technology and innovation for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in Asia and the Pacific, is contained in document ESCAP/75/L11/Rev1. And the last one is implementation of the Declaration of Navigating Policy with Data to Leave No One Behind, as contained in document ESCAP/75/L12/Rev2. Mr. Chair, those are the 9 draft resolutions which the working group is recommended for consideration and adoption by the Commission. I thank you and the distinguished delegates for your support and cooperation. Thank you so much.
I thank the Ambassador for her report. Distinguished delegates, we will now first take up the draft resolutions. For ease of review, I will take up the resolutions one by one in the order of the agenda item under which they were tabled. You will see that the first resolution is entitled Implementation of the Outcome of the Euro-Asian Regional Midterm Review of the Vienna Programme of Action for Landlocked Developing Countries for the decade 2014 to 2024, as contained in document ESCAP/75/L4/Rev1. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. I see consensus. The resolution is adopted. The next draft resolution presented to the Commission for adoption is entitled Committing to Strengthening the Link Between National, Regional and Global Follow-up and Review of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in Asia and the Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP/75/L5/F-Rep1. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. Distinguished delegate Philippines, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Philippines wishes to add its name to the co-sponsors of the draft resolution under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, distinguished delegate of Philippines, for your co-sponsorship of the resolution. I see consensus. The resolution is adopted. Advancing partnerships within and across regions for the sustainable development of Asia and the Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP/75/L6/Rep1. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. The distinguished delegate of Singapore, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Singapore would like to co-sponsor this resolution. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Singapore for your co-sponsorship of the resolution. I see consensus. The resolution is adopted. Oh, I'm sorry. Distinguished delegate of the United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The United States joins consensus on this resolution and congratulates the Kingdom of Thailand on the successful introduction and discussion of this resolution. We would also like to take this opportunity to make important points on human rights as related to this resolution entitled Advancing Partnerships Within and Across Regions for the Sustainable Development of Asia and the Pacific. The United States is disappointed that a small number of states blocked references highlighting the importance of respecting human rights while promoting sustainable development. As the Vienna Declaration and Plan of Action states, democracy, development, and respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms are interdependent and mutually reinforcing. And actors in the field of development cooperation should bear in mind the mutually reinforcing interrelationship between development, democracy, and human rights. Further, it affirms that the lack of development may not be invoked to justify the abridgment of internationally recognized human rights. With regard to business in particular, we agree with the assessment in the most recent report of the Working Group on the issue of human rights and transnational corporations and other business enterprises, referenced in General Assembly Resolution 73/163, that if human rights and dignity are not upheld in business activities, the positive contributions that businesses may otherwise make towards sustainable development will be undermined. Madam Executive Secretary, Mr. Chair, the United States once again extends its gratitude and congratulations to the Kingdom of Thailand on this resolution and joins consensus at this time. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of the United States of America, and your statement will be reflected in the appropriate places by the Secretariat. I see consensus. The resolution is adopted. Number 4, strengthening regional cooperation to tackle air pollution challenges in Asia and the Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP/75/L7/Rep1. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. I see consensus. The resolution is adopted. Oh. I didn't see that. Distinguished delegate of the Republic of Korea, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor. On behalf of the Government of the Republic of Korea, I would like to express our sincere thanks and appreciation through you to the Chair and Vice Chair of the Working Group for their hard work and an effort in leading this difficult and complex negotiation process. Thanks to you, we could adopt this resolution today. And also, we would like to express our special thanks to the government of Bangladesh, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Pakistan, Philippines, Russian Federation, Timor-Leste, Turkey, and United States for their co-sponsorship. And also, we would like to express our thanks to the colleagues from China, Japan, United States, and India for their flexibility, cooperation, and constructive spirit shown throughout the whole negotiation process. On this occasion, finally, Republic of Korea would like to reconfirm its strong commitment to strengthen regional cooperation with ESCAP members to improve air quality in this region. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of the Republic of Korea for the statement that will be reflected in the appropriate places by the Secretariat. Number 5, implementation of the Ulaanbaatar Declaration of the 2018 Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction, as contained in document ESCAP/75/L8/Rev1. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. I see consensus. The resolution is adopted. Number 6, the distinguished delegate of the United States of America, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, the United States joins consensus on this resolution and congratulates Mongolia on the successful introduction and discussion of this resolution. We take this opportunity to make an important point of clarification in relation to this resolution entitled Implementation of the Ulaanbaatar Declaration of the 2018 Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction. We reiterate our views on the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction from the U.S. explanation of position delivered in 2015. We have been a strong supporter of disaster risk reduction initiatives designed to reduce loss of life and the social and economic impacts of disasters. This assistance helps recipients build a culture of preparedness, promote greater resilience, and achieve self-reliance. Madam Executive Secretariat, Mr. Chair, the United States once again extends its congratulations to Mongolia for the successful adoption of this resolution. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate from the United States of America, and your statement will be reflected in the appropriate places by the Secretariat. Number 6, implementation of the Ministerial Declaration on Space Applications for Sustainable Development in Asia and the Pacific, and the Asia-Pacific Plan of Action on Space Applications for Sustainable Development 2018 to 2030, as contained in document ESCAP/75/L9/Rev2. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. I see consensus. The resolution is adopted. The distinguished delegate of China, you have the floor.
谢谢主席先生。首先，我想表明中方愿意共提这一决议。同时，我想在这里指出，在整个决议磋商过程之中，这一份决议是通过最快的决议。这充分表明区域国家对空间技术应用与减灾的这个及其促进2030可持续发展的强大的支持。我们祝贺泰国代表团提出这个决议，我们希望与各方共同促进这个决议的落实。谢谢。
I thank the distinguished delegates of China for your co-sponsorship of this resolution, and your statement will also be reflected in the appropriate places by the Secretariat. Number 7, advancing the implementation of the Asia-Pacific Information Superhighway Initiative for Regional Cooperation, as contained in document ESCAP/75/L10/Rev1. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. Distinguished delegate of Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and hello to everybody. Azerbaijan also wish to put his name among the co-sponsors of these resolutions.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Azerbaijan, the distinguished delegate of Mongolia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mongolian delegation also wishes to co-sponsor this resolution, this draft resolution, and wishes to congratulate Bangladesh on sponsoring this important resolution. Thank you.
Thank the distinguished delegates from Azerbaijan and Mongolia for your for co-sponsoring the resolution. Distinguished delegate of Bangladesh, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, that the delegation of Bangladesh is sponsoring this resolution for the second time. And we wish to thank all the co-sponsors, and particularly the later joining of the Azerbaijan and Mongolia. And, we would like to work with the all member countries to implement this resolution along with the support of the Secretariat. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank the distinguished delegate of Bangladesh for co-sponsoring this resolution, and your statement will be reflected in the appropriate places by the Secretariat. Number 8, advancing science. I see consensus. The resolution is adopted. Number 8, advancing science, technology and innovation for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in Asia and the Pacific, as contained in document ESCAP/35/L11/Rev1. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. I see consensus. The resolution is adopted. Number 9, implementation of the Declaration on Navigating Policy with Data to Leave No One Behind, as contained in document ESCAP/35/L12/Rev2. The draft resolution is presented to the Commission for adoption. I see consensus. The resolution is adopted. Distinguished delegate of Malaysia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Malaysia delegation would like to take this opportunity to record our appreciation to the Secretariat and also member states for your unwavering assistance throughout the process to finalize the draft resolution. And our gratitude also goes to all the co-sponsors, to mention the government of Bangladesh, China, Fiji, Japan, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, Philippines, Republic of Korea, Russian Federation, Samoa, Thailand, Timor-Leste, and Vietnam for their support for the resolution. We look forward to work closely with all the co-sponsors to materialize the resolutions. I thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Malaysia. Your statement will be reflected in the appropriate places by the Secretariat. The resolution is adopted. Before we conclude our adoption of the resolutions, I would like to refer to document ESCAP/75/L3/Add1. Statement of Program Budget Implications for Actions and Proposals of the Commission. The document is presented to the Commission for adoption. The document ESCAP/75/L3/Add1 is adopted. Distinguished delegates, we will now consider the decisions of the Commission at this session. I had the privilege of leading the discussions on the agenda item 4 through 10, and you have before you document ESCAP/75/L13, which contains all of the draft decisions that resulted from our deliberations and recommended for adoption by the Commission. I note there is a small correction to draft decision 13, and I give the floor to the Secretariat to read out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to draw the attention of the Commission to draft decision 13 to the top of page 4 under the contribution announced by the delegation of China. The figures for the China ESCAP cooperation program should read US dollars $1 million and RMB 1,500,000 RMB. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I also note draft decision 14 and draft decision 20. Request the Secretary to read out the due text.
Thank you again, sir. On page 5, draft decision 14 should now read at its fifth plenary meeting on 31 May 2019, the Commission took note of the report on the evaluation of the Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology, ESCAP 75/29, and took note of the evaluation of the Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology, ESCAP /75/INF/3. As far as draft decision 20 is concerned, it should now read, it's on the last page, draft decision 20 is on the last page. At its fifth plenary meeting on 31 May 2019, the Commission decided that the theme topic for its 76th session would be promoting economic, social, and environmental cooperation on oceans for sustainable development. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The distinguished delegate of Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving the floor for my delegation to be able to make a brief intervention particularly on draft decision 13. The government of Indonesia will continue to play an active role in UN ESCAP's programs and activities, including a number of its regional institutions. In this regard, the government of Indonesia wished to make a pledge contribution for the year 2019 to the following. First, for SIAP, a pledge contribution of an amount of $30,000. Second, for APCTT, a pledge contribution for an amount of $10,000. Third, for CSAM, a pledge contribution for an amount of $30,000. May I also convey to the Secretariat that the government of Indonesia will only process and be able to make the transfer upon receiving the formal invoices from the Secretariat. I wish to request the Secretariat that my statement will be duly recorded and the draft be amended. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Indonesia. Distinguished delegate of Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Regarding the resolution, regarding the draft resolution 13, the contribution from Japan, yesterday we mentioned that the contribution of Japan to CIAP is subject to the number of lecturers of CIAP being maintained as before. So this point should be reflected in the decision. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Japan. The distinguished delegate of China, you have the floor.
谢谢主席先生，我想做一个澄清，要请秘书处做一个澄清。第19号决定，这个明年的关于明年会议的会期是5月18号到22号，这个是什么时候定的？我怎么没有印象？我们讨论了这个事情，谢谢。
I thank the distinguished delegate of China. Mr. Secretary, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the delegation of China for the question. This was decided yesterday during our discussion of the agenda item. We had agreed as a body yesterday during the Committee of the Whole to take a decision on the dates while splitting the decision on the theme topic for further consultation.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Are there any other comments at this time? Distinguished delegate of China, you have the floor.
谢谢主席，谢谢秘书处这个解释。第一呢是您刚才秘书处解释说是昨天全会决定的，但是你这里写的是第5次全会是5月31号是今天的会决定的，但我不知道是这个我不太清楚。另外，我确实是昨天一直在这里，但是我没有印象，我们就这个事情做出个决定。谢谢。
Mr. Secretary, you have the floor.
Thank you again, sir. So yesterday the Commission met in the Committee of the Whole. So procedurally, the Committee of the Whole was entrusted with discussing agenda items 4 through 10. And during the course of the discussions, at the end, the Committee of the Whole makes recommendations to the full plenary of the Commission for decisions or recommendations or other actions to take now. So yesterday's decision by the Committee of the Whole was a procedural decision to recommend to the full plenary today in order to make this make this decision. So what is reflected in the decision is the action taken by the full plenary today. Now, there was a discussion under this agenda item, a very brief discussion. There was a query from the delegation of Japan because as the chair posed the decisions, the draft decisions for consideration by the Committee of the Whole, there was the deletion of the one original draft decision which was meant to provide a general operating principle, which was the discussion that the Committee of the Whole had officially and in informal consultations about fixing the dates for the third week or sometime in May. Whereas this decision falls under, and that discussion was taken under agenda item 7 on the midterm review of the conference structure. This decision comes under agenda item 9, dates, venue, and the theme topic for the 76th session of the Commission, and is a customary agenda item for the Commission every year. As I explained yesterday, following the question by the delegation of Japan, this was a customary action by the Commission. The only difference from previous years is that we have actually determined the dates ahead of time. So this is in full accordance with Rule 1 of the Rules of Procedure of the Commission. I made that explanation yesterday, and thus this decision, this draft decision before us now is put forward to the full plenary for its consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Are there any other requests for the floor? Distinguished Delegate of Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for the record, I think my delegation asked the question whether we have changed the practice. It's not. But I look at the draft decision of last year. That was we didn't make any determination of actual date. Rather, in accordance with the rule, whatever. I mean, I can't remember from the top of my head. The date and the venue will be decided in accordance later on in the ACPR. So my understanding is that we have not changed any practice. Unless we make a specific determination on the way we change the way we decide the date and venue, the previous practice should continue. So I just want to make it clear that my delegation's viewpoint needs to be clearly recorded in the proceedings. Because what happened last year was the Japan hosted a major international conference during the third week, and such major international conference takes place every 3 years. So it means that next year we wouldn't have such meeting during around the time the commission may hold its annual session. But in 2 years' time, we may face a similar situation. I mean that we faced last year. So this happens every 3 years. So each and every time we have to sort out the win-win situation for both ESCAP and Japan, government in Japan. So as for the next year, we do not see any such a major conference as of today, but we may need to revert to this issue if and when necessary. But I'm sure that the issue will come up in the 2 years' time. Just want to make sure. I think as long as Mitch is here, I think we are confident that we can coordinate well. Thank you very much.
Thank the distinguished delegate of Japan. Distinguished delegate of India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. My delegation just needed one clarification whether decision 11 has already been adopted, because we would like to make a statement on that. Thank you.
Distinguished delegates of India, I've been advised that we have not yet adopted all the decisions yet, because we will be adopting all of them together at the end. Distinguished delegate of India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, again. So I assume this would be an appropriate time to make a statement on Decision 11.
Distinguished delegate of India, you may make a statement before or after the adoption.
Thank you, Chair. In that case, we will wait till the adoption. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of India. Are there any other requests for the floor? If there are none, may I then propose that we adopt the draft decisions of the Commission as contained in document ESCAP/75/L13 and as orally amended. I see consensus. Document ESCAP/75/L13 is adopted. I give the floor to the distinguished delegate of the United States of America.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Executive Secretary, Mr. Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. The United States extends its congratulations to the Executive Secretary, the Secretariat, and member states for the productive and largely cooperative work accomplished at the 75th session of the UN Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. We welcome much of the work contained within this program of work as outlined in Decision 11, as it will continue to the sustainable development of this region. At this time, the United States appreciates the opportunity to make our position on this program of work and other resolutions clear, and requests that this statement is reflected, as appropriate, in the record of today's proceedings. In executing the program of work, the United States encourages the Secretariat to consult early, extensively, and transparently with member states and the Committee of the Permanent Representatives. This consultation is particularly important in relation to initiatives of a significant, substantive, and strategic nature. We welcome this timely scheduling of meetings and provision of related information to allow for the full participation of all member states. Mr. Chair, Madam Secretary, the United States has joined consensus on these decisions because we support the role that this Commission plays in promoting sustainable development in Asia and the Pacific. However, we must express our concern about some projects and partnerships, including initiatives with political nomenclature that were undertaken and launched despite the United States and several other member states expressed concerns. We noted the many references in the work plan and other texts we are adopting today to activities tied to the 2030 Agenda. The United States recognizes the 2030 Agenda as a global framework for sustainable development that can help countries work towards global peace and prosperity. We applaud the call for shared responsibility, including national responsibility, in the 2030 Agenda, and emphasize that all countries have a role to play in achieving its vision. However, the 2030 Agenda also recognizes that each country must work towards implementation in accordance with its own national policies and priorities. The United States also underscored that paragraph 18 of the 2030 Agenda calls for countries to implement the agenda in a manner that is consistent with the rights and obligations of states under international law. We also highlight our mutual recognition in paragraph 58 that the 2030 Agenda implementation must respect and be without prejudice to the independent mandates of other processes and institutions, including negotiations, and does not prejudge or serve as precedent for decisions and actions underway in other forums. With respect to textual references to gender, the United States champions the empowerment of women and girls and knows that only through their meaningful and fair inclusion can we conquer the challenges facing us both individually and collectively. In dealing with women's issues and women's empowerment, we all too often fall back on vague terminology. We insist on speaking clearly about our goals, gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls. We believe strongly when talking about women, we need to talk about women. With respect to the agreement on facilitation of the cross-border paperless trade in Asia and the Pacific referenced in the program of work, we have repeatedly expressed our opposition to this initiative. We discourage any further work in implementing the framework agreement. Should the ESCAP membership desire to work on paperless trade or other trade facilitation matters, it is critical that any such work complements the robust work already underway in this area and not divert attention or resources. The United States enjoys strong and growing trade relationships across the globe. We welcome efforts to bolster these relationships, increase economic cooperation, and drive prosperity to all our peoples through free, fair, and reciprocal trade. However, as President Trump stated to the General Assembly on September 25th, the United States will act in its sovereign interest, including on trade matters. This means that we do not take our trade policy direction from the United Nations or its member agencies and bodies. It is our view that the United Nations must respect the independent mandates of other processes and institutions, including trade negotiations, and must not involve itself in decisions and actions in other forums, including at the World Trade Organization. The UN is not the appropriate venue for these discussions. This includes calls that undermine incentives for innovation, such as technology transfer, that is not voluntary and on mutually agreed terms. We request that you and the Secretariat continue to work with member states and in the spirit of transparency and inclusivity to address these ongoing concerns. Madam Executive Secretary, Mr. Chair, the United States once again extends its gratitude and congratulations to UN ESCAP for hosting another successful Commission session. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of the United States of America. Your statement will be reflected in the appropriate places by the Secretariat. Distinguished delegate of India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The Indian government would like to make a statement on draft decision 11. As a responsible member of the UN ESCAP, the Government of India is joining consensus on the endorsement of Program Plan for 2020 under document ESCAP/75/26. However, we have certain views on this, which we will be conveying separately to the UN ESCAP. We request the Secretariat to kindly reflect our remarks appropriately in the report, and we would also like to congratulate the Secretariat and the Government of Thailand for hosting a successful commission. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of India. The request is if you would like the statement reflected by the Secretariat, if you could please read it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We would like the Secretariat to note that we have certain views on the program, Plan 2020, which we will be conveying separately. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of India. Mr. Secretary, if you have the floor for clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may, through you, ask the distinguished delegate of India, as the Chair had just said, your statement, your request to reflect your statement in the proceedings, the Secretariat has taken note of that, and we just want to reconfirm our understanding that what you want reflected in the proceedings is that India has views that it will convey to the Secretariat.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. That is what we want to be reflected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary and distinguished delegates of India. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, those are all of the resolutions and decisions taken by the Commission at this session. We shall now consider the part of the draft report dealing with the organization of the 75th session of the Commission as contained in document ESCAP/35/L3. Distinguished delegates may kindly note that changes of an editorial or grammatical nature will be taken care of by the Secretariat. Are there any comments on the document? I see none. Document ESCAP/75/L3 is adopted. Concludes the consideration of the draft report. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, it is my great pleasure to propose that with the incorporation of the various amendments as agreed during this session, the report of the 75th session of the Commission is adopted by consensus. It is adopted. Before I close the 75th session, I have the honor to invite the Executive Secretary, Ms. Armida Salcia Alice Jabana, to make her concluding remarks. Madam Executive Secretary.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, Excellencies, distinguished participants, allow me to begin by thanking all of you for your engagement in this 75th Commission session over the past week. Your country's active participation, the numerous side events you organized and sponsored, as well as the exhibitions provided throughout this conference center have made for a vibrant Commission. I welcome this energized gathering that provides a very stimulating environment for our countries to come together, share success stories, and build multilateral solutions for sustainable development. I am grateful to you for making this happen and for the financial support which has been pledged to help us take our work forward, including additional support for our regional institute. Your conclusion of targeted resolutions, which will help guide ESCAP's future work, will support this process. These are firmly anchored in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and provide good foundations on which to build. Many are aligned with the priorities I set out at the opening session and essential to achieving a transformed and resilient society in Asia and the Pacific. To strengthen connectivity, you agreed to advance the implementation of the Asia-Pacific Information Superhighway through regional cooperation. As part of the effort to combat environmental degradation and pollution, you agreed to strengthen regional cooperation to overcome the transboundary challenge of air pollution. You have moved to build on our well-established regional cooperation to stop disaster risk outpacing resilience, and agreed resolutions focus on implementing the Ulaanbaatar Declaration of the 2018 Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction and on using space applications for sustainable development. To ensure we seize the opportunity new technologies offer to accelerate progress to transform and resilient societies, you have acted to advance science, technology, and innovation and strengthen cooperation in this area. I welcome all these resolutions. To deliver against these priorities and others set by the 2030 Agenda, our ability to work effectively at the sub-regional and regional level is critical. I'm therefore pleased we were able to hold the first ever dialogue with all major sub-regional groups present in one session. I hope this will be a first step towards more systematically identifying common priorities to complement each other's work and to facilitate best practice exchange between sub-regions. The resolution you have agreed focus on advancing partnerships within and across regions also supports these objectives. ESCAP was able to sign Memoranda of Understanding with several institutions, the International Solar Alliance, the Association of Pacific Rim Universities, and the Multi-Global Navigation Satellite System Asia, as well as a statement of cooperation with the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reductions. These are valuable frameworks for us to deepen and broaden analytical work, intergovernmental cooperation, and capacity building to support our member states better. Your country statements on the theme topic of empowering people and ensuring inclusiveness and equality provided excellent best practice on which to draw. The resolution you have agreed focus on implementing the declaration on navigating policy with data to leave no one behind should further help underpin our effort to shape inclusive social and economic development. The discussions we had during the special body on least developed, landlocked, developing, and Pacific Island developing countries were dynamic. We heard concrete examples of how structural transformation has been successfully supported. Countries with special needs remain a priority for UN ESCAP. I'm looking forward to building on the resolution focused on implementing the outcome of the Euro-Asian Regional Midterm Review of the Vienna Programme of Action for landlocked and developing countries for the decade 2014-2024. Finally, I'm very pleased you were able to agree on a resolution strengthening the link between national, regional, and global follow-up and review processes of the 2030 agenda. I've taken careful note of your desire to strengthen the link between the Asia-Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development and the high-level political forum. I'm committed to ensuring our region's efforts are recognized, best practice showcased, and our voice clearly heard at the global level. To conclude, may I thank the Commission Bureau and our chair who has so deftly handled proceedings this week, and our gracious host, the Royal Thai government. May I also express my sincerest thanks and appreciation to the ESCAP Secretariat staff. They have worked tirelessly to make your 75th Commission session a real success. I'm grateful to their dedication and commitment. Thank you all once again. I wish you a very safe journey home. Thank you, and until we meet again next year.
Before we adjourn the session, I would like to thank you, Madam Executive Secretary, and your staff for the effective servicing of this Commission session. I would also like to recognize all those from the Secretariat who worked behind the scenes to make the session a memorable one. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Royal Thai Government for its gracious hospitality. I give the floor to the distinguished delegate of the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, it gives me great pleasure on behalf of my delegation to convey to you our deep appreciation to the Bureau for guiding the deliberation for the 75th session of the Commission to a successful conclusion. I should also like to convey through you, Mr. Chair, our thanks and appreciation to the Royal Thai Government for the warm hospitality offered to all the participants. Finally, Mr. Chair, we wish to record our sincere thanks to Ms. Armida Ali Shabana, Executive Secretary of ESCAP, and her able staff for the excellent preparation for the session and the services rendered to the delegation, which have made our task much easier. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of the Republic of Korea. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I bid you farewell, a safe journey home. I look forward to meeting you again at the 76th session of the Commission next year. I hereby declare the 75th session of the Commission adjourned. Thank you, Madam.
แบบพูดทั้งวันเลยไม่เป็นก็ช่วงหนึ่งเขาใช่